Welcome to MTM Travel. Joe is here with me and Mark. And Mark just got done trashing the new JetBlue Premium card, Joe. I know you have to take offense to that as one of their best customers.
I do not take offense to that. I don't see. I mean, it feels like. Let me guess, Mark. You said something to the effect of it's just like a trick for their loyal customers who like don't know any better to get, because it's like what you get lounge. My favorite part of this card is the lounge access to the lounges that don't exist.
Yeah, you nailed
So
it. That's
dumb.
what he said.
It's so dumb. Like, you could have the card for a year and you only have access to like one lounge 10 months from now or 8 months or whatever it is later this year when it'll be built. And then I don't think the other one kicks off until early 2026. So why would you launch it now? It doesn't make any sense. No, I think my headline article was something like, if you really want to blow $500 and you have nothing better to do, or if you want to waste $500, here's your place.
It's 500. I was gonna ask, it's like 300 or something like that. Yeah, 500. Even having a third digit, I was already like, this is too much. And so what? The Delta Reserve is what's it up to now? It used to be 450. Maybe it's more now, but that is like lounges in almost every major airport in the United States of America. And then JetBlue, you have 1.5 by the time this year's over. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. The
Great
funny
for
thing,
JetBlue customers. Come on.
the funny thing is, the reserve's up to 650 now, so it's a bit
Still.
more expensive.
Still, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
No, but-
650 for like 20 plus lounges versus 500 for a lounge. I don't even own a lounge, let alone many lounges that would necessitate an entire card. Sorry, Wayne's World reference, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I said in the write-up, I'm like, okay, all these premium airline cards are usually a bad deal for most people, but they at least offer a lounge network that expands across the country, tons of airports. A lot of their airports have multiple lounges in them, things like that. And, or they give you status perks to this. They gave 5 tiles. 5 tiles. What does 5 tiles do? It does nothing.
Gets you
need
1/10 of the
50.
It gets you 1/10 of the way to get even more seating. What do they call it now? Even more, I think is what they call it. I don't even know. But 1/10 of the way to getting that at check-in. Not even in advance. At check-in.
But the big
Yeah,
thing
it's
is the
crazy.
travel credit, Mark. Come on. You get the
that-
200.
I was
yeah,
saving
they
it for
have that-
last. It's the worst.
Oh,
It's so
and
bad.
Paisley.
Have you ever?
Yeah, I love the name of
didn't
their
even know what
travel
the-
portal. Can we talk about that? Like Paisley, it's such a great name.
I was cutting you off a bit there. I've never even heard of Paisley. I was like, what the hell is that? Like, is that like dog food or like what am I
It's
going
'cause
to get into here?
No, I'll tell you a funny story. It's because you never book JetBlue. JetBlue's website and app are like horrible. Like whenever I book a ticket, you're getting ready to jet, like, there's like kind of a moving screen that goes for, I don't know, at least a minute every time. And the only way I know that my reservation has gone through is because friggin' stupid Paisley, I get an email from Paisley asking me to add like a rental car or whatever. So that's how I know what Paisley is, because I fly JetBlue all the time. But yeah, it's not great. So the credit is only for Paisley stuff. It's not even for like flights.
Yeah, so it's Paisley bookings, but it's not even like a $300 credit like the Venture X gives, where you can use it towards like a big trip or something. It's you get $50 off of every $250 booking up to $300.
Oh my gosh. This is one of those cards, as you can tell, I like know nothing about this card. I read like the first 2 lines of whichever article I clicked first. And I was like, no. It was just like an immediate no. Speaking of the Delta lounges, by the way, I was in Boston's, Boston has 2 Delta lounges. Okay. Ostensibly, JetBlue is a bigger hub in Boston than Delta is. Although Delta has a lot of flights. They have 2 different lounges. I was in the lounge. There was plenty of space. It was like really big. I do think this is my first time, because usually I'm traveling with my family. So this is like the first time I've been able to go into a lounge for an extended period of time, since, I don't like leaving them outside or whatever. And I was, or at least
All right,
publicly,
I'm gonna go get blasted. See you, babe.
publicly, that's what I got to say, at least. But when I was in that lounge, I was like, oh, this is a really nice lounge. I think they've really dealt with, as much as it sucks with the American Express Platinum card and stuff like that. Like, they've dealt with the overcrowding. And then like right after I was there, they came out with this news about the JetBlue card, and I was like, "What lounge? Like they're not even get close to what the Delta lounges have. Just here, even here in Boston, which is tons of people fly JetBlue out of Boston."
Well, and that's something we discussed on 20-minute travel. Where like, Boston has the Delta lounges, but it also has a Centurion lounge coming. It has the Sapphire lounge. You're way better off getting one of those premium cards if you fly JetBlue. I mean, it might be a pain depending on if it's not in the same terminal and all that stuff, but it's worth a little bit of effort and having a card that's somewhat useful versus, getting this card for just that one lounge. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah, and for all you non-Boston people, I'll just add like the local flavor. They've actually done a really good job of connecting airside everything. And so I don't know if like every single terminal is connected yet, but like C and E, there's a connection airside. And so, it's not as difficult to get between terminals as it used to be like 5 years ago. It was like so annoying just to get from one terminal to the other. You always had to exit security. So, with all those lounges, I mean, you make a great point, Mark. I like have even been in Terminal C, which is the JetBlue terminal, by the way, and considered going to an international lounge in E. So, because they're connected airside. And I'm assuming, I can look it up while you guys are talking, but I'm assuming the Centurion lounge is going to end up in E or something like that. So I'll take a look.
Yeah, it reminds me of remember the article, Shawn, that you wrote like several years ago of how to get because when Centurion Lounge, I think it was for the Centurion Lounge open, there was no way to get easily there from a different one because there was like this door that was closed. And you wrote like, oh, just ask the TSA people to open that door. It was stupid that it was ever there. Now it's always open. But the fact that it was ever closed doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's in Vegas. So thankfully they fixed that. I was just in the airport a couple days ago, and the Capital One Lounge is coming along. It's behind construction walls, so you can't really tell. But they just added a new facet to it where the entrance is going to be. That didn't have the construction walls yet. So I'm hoping that the Capital One Lounge opens soon. And as for people who don't pay attention closely, Chase and Capital One have both announced a ton of lounges. So we really are coming into the golden era of airport lounges. It's crazy. They're all crowded though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I haven't been in a Sapphire Lounge yet, so that's the one thing I can't compare to. But so far, Capital One is by far my favorite lounge in the U.S. As far as food service, all that stuff, the way they designed it is really beautiful, and they have this frozen Irish coffee behind the bar. It looks like kind of like a slushy machine, but it's a little bit of alcohol and just such a good drink. Every time I fly through one that has Capital One Lounge, I'm like trying to see if that lounge has it too. It's just so good.
That's good to know. Just to update, yes, it's going to be in Terminal E. So if the Centurion Lounge is in Terminal E, Terminal C, which is JetBlue's terminal, and E are connected airside. Why get the JetBlue card when you can just go to the Centurion Lounge?
And even if it wasn't, why get the JetBlue card? I mean, it's
well, yeah, great point. Great point. This is the what? So if it's good, it's icing on the cake. I don't know. This is the flies on the crap or whatever, like on top of the it's not a good card. Not right now, at least.
I suggest that they made it so bad so people get the lower end card. Maybe they're just doing it to prop that up. I don't know. It doesn't make any, or they don't want anybody to sign up because they just did it because JetBlue asked them to. But they're like, let's make this thing horrible.
But the JetBlue, the regular card is pretty popular around here. Like people, a lot of normie people that I know in the area use the JetBlue card. So anyway.
I think that's like any hub area. Like everybody has a Delta SkyMiles card here. And every time I'm like, you could just get a membership rewards card and it earns better. And you can still transfer to Delta, which you'll figure out that you won't want to. But no, they all have you ask anybody at the supermarket if they have a SkyMiles card, I bet you 8 out of 10 will say yes in Detroit.
Here they just pay everything with ones. I don't know why in Vegas. Nobody ever uses credit cards.
Are you saying there's a lot of strippers? I don't know what.
Actually, there are a lot of tip people.
Everyone gets paid in ones.
No,
hey,
I mean,
with inflation, inflation, shouldn't you start giving them fives? Like with inflation, come on, it's tough times out there.
I'm surprised people
should be giving them fives.
People don't pay with casino chips or cash out tickets.
I mean, I'm joking, but it is a thing here. You get behind people with cash much more often than you would in other cities. And oftentimes it's small bills at the grocery store. It always happens. Back in the day, it was so common and very annoying. But yeah, I mean,
You know
it's
what
Vegas,
pisses
right?
me off is when you get behind somebody that's still writing a check and how long that takes. It's the worst.
Yeah. Do they? I know Walmart still takes them. Do grocery stores still take them? I've had that happen at Walmart where they have to do the whole verification and yeah, why?
It happened.
Why?
It happens to me at Sam's Club more often than I'd like to admit, and I get pissed every single time.
Hey man, just keeping it old school. While we're talking about JetBlue and dissing them, I was down in Florida for Travel Mission's annual conference, and I did not fly JetBlue either way. I flew Delta down, which I just mentioned, and that's why I got to check out the lounge, and then flew Spirit again for the second time.
There you go.
And
Good stuff.
just to Mark, I did not have time to go down to Logan to buy the ticket. So what happened was I ended up, they asked me to do some stuff for the retreat. So I decided to stay an extra day, and then staying an extra day, I had all my flights set. My original flights were all JetBlue, but to stay an extra day, the cash price for JetBlue, Delta, everything was the same price as a big front seat on Spirit. And Spirit had the time, I don't know why there weren't a lot of flights. I guess because it was a Tuesday, right? I wanted to be back by a certain time, and Spirit's schedule worked perfectly. And so I flew Spirit again. It's still great. It's still funny to me how Spirit, obviously, they're just used to having people who don't fly on there, because while we were taking off, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to stay in your seats. We're taxiing to the runway. They're like, please remain seated with your seatbelts. Please keep your children on your lap. Please. It was like 5 reminders. And I was like, man, I guess the people behind me, because I was in the big front seat, I was living large up there. So the people behind must not know what's going on. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, the big front seat, it's annoying that you got to buy the bags now instead of just paying for the big front seat, or you got to buy the works or whatever that comes with it. So at times it's a little bit more expensive than it would have been, but you do get the Wi-Fi, you get the drink now, alcoholic drinks, you get better snacks and all that stuff. So they definitely made it more premium to come with a bit higher price. But if you're getting it for the same as economy with somebody else, or even a bit less, it's the best option for it, I think. I enjoyed my big front seat flight to LaGuardia a couple weeks ago when everything else fell to hell. Spirit was the one thing that kept it together, which is funny.
That's kind of what happened with me too. Well, I mean, you had a mess, but that's it was this is the best option. And yeah, it was to the dollar the same price as with JetBlue. I could have gotten an even more space seat. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called, JetBlue. Sue me, right? But Delta, it was only main cabin, regular main cabin, so not even whatever. Again, sue me. Oh, Comfort Plus. So
why do they all have to be named different? Why can't they just be called Premium Economy?
Gosh. How do you know Deltas and not know JetBlues though? I mean,
because I read Comfort Plus down, and JetBlue just changed theirs. When people, I still call the People Mover TTA, right? So it's just one of those kinds of things.
So I have a couple airline things I just thought of this week. We didn't talk about it on 20-minute travel. Frontier tried to buy Spirit again this week, and then that got rejected.
We're going to talk about it next week.
Well, we will. I just thought that was interesting. But I did want to point out.
Don't say anything else though. Don't spoil next week.
Just a spoil, because I don't know enough details about it. But on my Hawaiian flight home last week, I forgot to mention this, that they had free Starlink internet, and they're putting that on all their long hauls. And I'm really excited about maybe the future of air travel if we can have free, fast internet. I guess even if you have to pay for it, Starlink in the air just working super great. It's a great product. And then I had something happen on the flight to Hawaii that I wanted to ask you guys about if you've ever seen anything like this. So we boarded here. We flew United Las Vegas to Los Angeles to Hawaii. There was this family of 5 that were on our Las Vegas flight and then also on our Hawaii flight. They were sitting right next to us. And when we were sitting in the gate in LA, we had a small delay for a maintenance issue. It was a small maintenance issue. The cargo door wasn't closing properly, nothing huge. And so we're sitting there for about 20 minutes. Just as they're about to clear it, this family just gets up and decides that they're leaving the airplane. And the flight attendant came over. She was confused. He's like, yeah, tell the captain we're getting off. and it was probably three teenage boys, all like 14 to 18. The wife and the husband, they were sitting next to us. We never saw a conversation. They didn't freak out about anything. They ended up making them open the door back up, get off the plane. Never seen anything like it. It's like, I think he was freaked out because of the maintenance thing. But have you ever seen anything? There was no big fight with the flight attendants. There was nothing. And in the end, they were going to Hawaii and he made them get off the plane. So no Hawaii for them.
They have to pull their bags too. I've seen that happen once, and same thing. Like I didn't hear any noise. Maybe they were like furiously texting. They were like, "Oh my gosh, I need to get off this plane," and maybe they didn't say it, or maybe they just have telepathy or something like that. I've seen that too.
They texted that guy back there. He ain't real.
I mean, seriously,
the
flight attendants were having to keep. They're like, nothing's wrong with the plane. Everybody's fine. They just want to get off. But I mean, they were right next to us, so. It was weird. The wife seemed a little embarrassed, but they lost their trip to Hawaii. It kind of sucks.
Maybe they got like a call that a family member is sick or in the hospital or like an emergency that had nothing to do with the delay.
Well, there was one thing that I did hear. The dad told the kid, he's like, "You guys can stay in LA. I'm going home." So I don't know. So I'm assuming Vegas was home. That's where they started.
Found
on
out
the
his
same
wife
flight
was cheating.
Yeah, now it seems even worse, man. Like they get in a divorce. They get a divorce. Like this got from weird to sad. Now I'm just sad. That poor family destroyed by what airline were you flying?
I felt bad for the kids.
Yeah. They're probably just.
I mean, the mom.
What are those teenage boys gonna?
All right, see ya. Me and the kids are going. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it was just him, I'd be like, "You do what you gotta do. See you later."
Well, what are those teenage boys gonna do on Hawaii anyway? They're just gonna be on the iPads the whole entire time.
Yeah, it's so bad with
like
kids,
White Lotus.
man, and the technology. Ugh.
Nailed it in one.
Yeah.
So let's transition. Mark, you spent this last weekend in Minneapolis, going to my favorite place, the Mall of America. Well, I'm assuming you did other things, but is there really anything else to do other than ride roller coasters at the Mall of America?
I mean, Minneapolis, yeah, maybe that's the peak of it. I don't know. But I'd been there for a Final Four when Michigan State was in it several years ago. We drove there and you know, kind of hung out around the stadium, which wasn't all that impressive. There's not much stuff around the football stadium. It didn't feel like, so it was kind of like underwhelming. But my son he hasn't checked off the state yet, so he wanted to go back. Or he was just like, hey, let's go somewhere I haven't been before. And I looked for flights around that time, and cheapest one was Minneapolis, or one of the cheapest. And I actually had to switch the flights because we picked a different weekend a couple months later. And I had booked Delta both ways originally, pretty good price. And then when I did this, I saw Spirit was like $40-something. And I went down to the airport and bought it. We did $26 each to fly there nonstop. I mean, can you beat getting two tickets for $52? That's tough.
It's your go-to move, man. You love driving to the airport. You love it.
Well, it's
I thought it was
25
hilarious.
minutes.
How much is
Earlier
parking?
it was hilarious. Joe had to apologize to Mark for not buying his Spirit ticket at the airport.
That's
Did you
not-
guys see
Well,
that?
for one person,
know it's
it's
your
not
thing.
worth it. One person, one way, it's not worth it. You know, two people, it's kind of like on that border, $40. And I think I had to buy I was buying something else too for another flight. So it worked out that I saved like $80 by going down there. So I just did them both at the same time. Parking, I did the quick park or whatever, right? You walk out of the car and you're basically in the terminal. It cost me like $6. So that's nice for our airport. Timed it where they didn't really have a flight going on, or it's going to leave in like 40 minutes and nobody's waiting to check bags anymore. So I got that all done, and it was well worth it. You know, if it was just me going, I would have just paid online. It wouldn't have been worth it unless I was going to be at the airport for another flight or something like that. So we got over there fine. I didn't even pay for seats, you know, because if you have a kid, they usually stick you together. So just checked in at the 24-hour mark. We got 2 seats together. That worked well. And then we stayed at
Even if your kid looks like a man?
Yeah. Yeah. I think he might. He's like real close to being taller than me, but it's funny. Like his legs are longer than mine already by 2 inches, but my torso, like if we're sitting down, I'm a good like 4 or 5 inches taller than him. But when we're standing, it's like a half-inch difference or 2 inches, or not 2 inches, but it's like, you know, an inch or so difference. It's just bizarre. But I guess my wife always calls me Humpty Dumpty, where I have a big torso and short legs. So next time you see me, you can call me that, Joe.
Nice. Got you.
But we stayed at the Hyatt Regency in Bloomington, which is out by the Mall of America. I will say Minneapolis has Their trains down pretty well. You can get on the metro right at the airport, which is nice. That hotel is like 2 stops away, and then Mall of America is 2 more stops away from the hotel. So it's not the most convenient option if you want to be downtown. It's like a 35-40 minute ride downtown. But if you're out there for the Mall of America, it takes like 10 minutes. You can buy a 24-hour pass or a day pass for $4 a person, which is like insanely cheap. So that was kind of our base of operations. Our friend Kristen and her husband picked us up from the airport, though, and we went to St. Paul's. To the fairgrounds are in St. Paul's, and they have like the second largest state fair each year in the summer. But in the winter, they built these massive like ice castle sculpture type things. They also had actual ice sculptures inside. The castles are like lit up by lights that are buried inside of the ice. And then they have like a couple food trucks and like hot spiked beverages and stuff. And they made slides that go through igloos and things like that, or a ice tunnel. So it was kind of unique to see. Not cheap. I think it was like $35 a person, like $37.50 with tax. So definitely no value to be had there, but it was fun, something unique to see. And you're walking around, it looks like you're walking on snow, but they haven't had snow in a while, and it's all the shavings from people using chainsaws to like build all of this.
That sounds really neat. I hadn't heard about that. I'll have to find some video to throw up for everybody.
I took video, of course. I took lots.
I was going
to
say, Mark, did you get some B-roll for Shawn?
I'm always worried
some
with
horizontal B-roll for Shawn.
I will give credit. Mark,
I guarantee
has been amazing with his video lately, and I really appreciate that. The Hyatt Regency Bloomington, I stayed there a few years ago. It's sort of this weird hotel because it's not a huge hotel, but like you said, the tram stop or the train stop is right outside the door of the hotel, making it super easy. I really liked it. I think it was a Category 1 back in the day. What is it now?
Yeah, it's a Cat 2. So one day was 6,500 points, and the next day was 8,000. So super affordable. They used to have a lounge, but of course it's not open anymore. I don't know why Hyatt hasn't gotten away from the lounge access certs as one of the perks. If it was like a free breakfast voucher, for a person, it'd be so much more valuable. It just seems like nobody has a lounge open anymore. St. Louis has the Hyatt Regency right there. That lounge hasn't been open in years, even though they have them. I don't know why they don't do them. I will say the breakfast was just okay. You go to like a takeout type place, a grab and go place. You can order food and then you go sit down. They bring it out to you. They give you a voucher for it. So not much going on there. The food was okay. It wasn't great. We didn't actually eat there the next day. We went to the Delta Lounge the day we were flying out because I was like, I can't eat that breakfast again. Let's go to the lounge and then see what they got there. So we did that instead on the way home. But no, so that was the first night. We came back to the hotel. They had a sign that their TVs weren't working as far as the channel, the cable, or anything. Which was like, whatever. We bring a Fire Stick with us when we travel. I think that's like one of my favorite travel hacks, if you want to call them that. And we just hooked it up to the back of the TV. They had Chromecast available too, so you could have done that. So I did Chromecast in the bedroom. He did the Fire Stick out in the living room, so that worked out pretty well. And the cool thing was, since it was down, they offered everybody like free pastries, breakfast bars, and like coffee in the morning. They set it up in the bar area. Which we didn't use because we had the breakfast, but I thought that was kind of a good way to handle it, and nobody seemed too upset about it. The next day they had it all fixed, so it wasn't too bad. And I'll say like the restaurant area isn't the greatest. It's just like a little bar, which is kind of a bit sad for a Hyatt Regency. They're not the best, but they usually have a decent bar area. It's okay, but the problem with that hotel is there's really nothing like right outside of it they can walk to. There's a coffee place like in the apartment building, kitty corner to it, but there's no other restaurants or anything. It's kind of a weird like office park / newer build condos, and then the hotels there. There's other hotels a little bit outside of it, but it'd be nice if there was like some type of store or restaurant right in that vicinity.
Yeah, I agree. It was pretty isolated. It's just a weird architecture for a Hyatt Regency, sort of blocky, and I liked the inside. I did go when the lounge was open when I stayed there, and it wasn't a very good lounge. It was a very, very basic lounge there, so I don't know if you're missing out on too much. But I do remember Perrier, it was very convenient. No Perrier for sure, just regular crap. But I do remember, we did this as a very quick trip to take our daughter to Mall of America to go to Nickelodeon Universe and stuff like that. So it did work out great location wise for us for that. And it sounds like it did for you as well.
Yeah, and we stayed there for the Final Four trip, so I kind of knew it was a solid option. And then with the train, there's a train stop like behind it, but there's one right, and you just walk across like this like park area type of thing. You can get there in 2 to 3 minutes, which is really nice. And so the next morning we got up, bought the day passes, went out to the Mall of America. Didn't actually really walk around the mall at all because I don't know. I hadn't been to the Mall of America since like our sophomore trip with school, and it's just like a big mall. It's got everything you've ever seen in other malls, but usually they don't have all of it in one spot. So it just has all of that in one spot. It just didn't really interest us. We went there just for the rides. We ended up buying it, which I think this is a better play. It's like $55 for the all you can ride tickets, which is good for if your kids, like 7 or under probably, because a lot of the rides are kiddie rides. If you're looking for like thrill rides or coasters, stuff like that, there's probably like 6 or 7. So we did the point system. I bought 54 points. I think it was like around $65 and way cheaper than buying 2 wristbands for over $100. And that gave us, all the thrill rides are 6 points each. So more than enough rides for us. He rode a couple on his own, and then we rode a lot, the roller coasters together. And they actually, the theming in there is really cool. It's pretty well done. And the coaster rides and stuff I thought were better than you would think would be in a mall.
Yeah, that Nickelodeon universe is great. It's existed for a long time. It's very funny because we talked about American Dream in New Jersey, and they have a Nickelodeon universe there, which actually has probably bigger coasters and stuff, but it just feels like it's in a warehouse. And somehow in Mall of America, they made it feel like an amusement park and properly themed and stuff. My first time going to Mall of America was 2005. And I feel like that was a cool time to go because mall culture hadn't died out as much in the US. So you still had sort of the heyday of what that was. I haven't been in a few years, but even the last time I was there, when we took Ellie a few years ago, it did feel like it didn't have quite the same vibe as it used to. Like the first time I went in there, every shop was filled. It was packed. It's just not the same anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that's a takeaway. I think that's a good thing, but no, I will say like, and I hate crowds. They had like an event for Chinese New Year and stuff where they had a stage built up, and there was tons of people around that watching it. It was just outside of the Nickelodeon Universe section. But we got there right at like 10, a little after 10 when it opened, and you could basically walk on any ride. So if you go there, and this was on a Saturday, so it's not like it's not going to be busy, but it was really pretty open early on. By the time we left, I think we left a little after 12. It was like probably like 12:45 because the log ride didn't open until 12. So that created like a fake influx where everything else was open at 10. This didn't open until 12. So even if you got there like right at 12, there was already 100 people waiting to get on this thing, which was kind of annoying. That it would have been so easy if everything was just functioning. It wouldn't have built this. Everybody was like, oh crap, we got to go do that one. We haven't done it yet. It just opened. So that was a little bit annoying, but everything else under 5 minutes, which I loved, not like a Cedar Point or something where you're waiting an hour to get on rides or anything.
So you texted me the other day saying that you had heard the log ride was good. I got all excited.
It must have been great because there was a lot. It had the longest queue of anything by far, and it was completely packed. We almost walked out of the line like 2 times because we're like, is this worth it?
It's almost a famous log ride among nerds just because it's so well done. It's very themed inside. You don't expect it to be that big of a ride inside the building there. And so I remember the first time I rode it, I didn't know anything about it and I loved it, but you sent me a picture of it. And were you shocked that I knew that it was the Paul Bunyan ride? Did you know that you didn't have to give me the context?
Sure it's one of the things. Does it count for your list of coasters? Like, could you check it off? If anybody's going to know the name of it. So before we started the show, he's like, oh, did you ride the SpongeBob SquarePants one? I was like, oh yeah, we did. I don't remember the names of any of this stuff except for like the Pepsi one, which I think is like Pepsi Orange. That one was kind of cool. It's good for like younger kids because it's not a fast moving coaster. But the cool thing is it goes like around the entire park. So you get to see like some different vantage points and everything. I think the best one was the odd couple, odd parents. I don't know, whatever that show is. It's a roller coaster, but it's a 4-person one and it spins while you're going around it. And I have video of all most of the rides, so you can see kind of what they're like. But I think that one was our favorite. The log ride was the second favorite, and then the Pepsi one was the third favorite. SpongeBob was a bit rough. It's the high. It goes to. They actually built the roof a little bit higher in that section because it goes up so high, and you're stuck at the top, and you're just basically sitting flat back that you feel like you're going to fall backwards. And then it goes down. It just up, down, spin, and you're done in like 15 seconds. It's kind of crazy, but that one's the best thrilliest of all the rides, I think.
Have you ever been, Joe?
I've been. I was trying to like think about it. I don't think they had a separate theme park when, I don't think it was Nickelodeon. I think it was just, if I remember when I went, which is like 10, 15 years ago, it was just one coaster that you could do. Is that, am I remembering it wrong? Like, I don't even know.
I think you're just remembering, what was it, Mighty Ducks 3, where they ride the same roller coaster over and over?
No,
Classic.
It used to be
Classic.
actually run by Cedar Fair, and it used to be themed as Camp Snoopy. But it was like, I want to say 08 or 09 that it changed over into Nickelodeon Universe. And you're right, they only had the smaller coasters, and then they added 3 new coasters sort of when they expanded. So the Pepsi coaster, and then they had a kiddie coaster there as well. I think the spinner was actually there as well. But yeah, so it did expand and become that. But it has been there since day one as some form of an amusement park in that mall since the day it opened.
Did it feel like people like were going there just to go there? I mean, I guess you went there just to go on the attractions. But this is what I was wondering when I was at American Dream too. I was like, do people just go to like come to this Nickelodeon thing? Like, do people get season passes to this? Maybe there's nothing to do in Minnesota. I mean, actually, my cousin-in-law from Minnesota was just visiting us, and she's like, yeah, there's nothing to do. It was really cold the other day, so they took their jeans outside and like stood them up, like made them stand up because it was like minus 20 degrees or something. But she said there's nothing to do, so maybe people just go to stay warm.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people, especially if you're in driving distance, like 4 hours or less, I think it's something a lot of people do. I saw like people wearing sweatshirts from other states, Iowa and stuff like that. And one guy was wearing the Mighty Ducks jersey, but the original one before they became like the Anaheim Ducks for the NHL team.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that was
like
that was kind of cool to see.
Almost looks like a Jason Voorhees mask.
Yeah,
with a duck, with a duckbill.
Yeah. So it was that was cool to see, and I think it's worth going. I mean, if you haven't been to the state or something, you want to check it off. I think and you have kids, probably like 14 or less. There was quite a few kids just going around with their friends and everything. I think if we lived there, we'd probably still go a couple times a year just to ride it. But I even remember like when we went for the sophomore tour, so this would have been like 99-ish, and we didn't even ride the rides because it didn't seem like there was much going on in there. So nobody really rode it. And then you go, and I think that's what I was so surprised by, how much better it is now than it was back then and how much they added to the space.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from Minneapolis the first time I went and every time I've gone is the people are so friendly. I guess that's a Midwest thing too, but very friendly people in all of Minnesota. But yeah, how did the rest of it go? What did you guys do at night and the flight home, all that stuff?
Yeah, so after the Mall of America, we went back, hung out at the hotel for a bit, and then of course my son wanted to see downtown. He loves public transportation, wants to be a civil engineer and all that stuff. So I mean, he brought up to me probably like 10 or 12 times, why don't we have this on Woodward in Detroit and stuff? And they built a Q line, which is a light rail, but they didn't have a dedicated track for it. It's like right on the road, so it's stupid. It doesn't save any time or help anybody. So he kept bringing it up. I'm like, yes, I get it. We should have done that. It was supposed to go all the way out to the suburbs. They just stopped after they built like a couple miles of it. So it was kind of dumb there. But we went downtown over by Target Field, which that area, like a couple blocks away from Target Field, is really nice and so much better than by the football stadium. Had a lot of high-end restaurants and some nice looking places. I will say everything I walked by was completely packed. I know it's Saturday night, but for downtown in the Midwest, that's not, unless it's Chicago, not always it's something you see. So it's kind of cool. But we went to Black Sheep coal-fired pizza, and I was like, all right, coal fire, yes, it's gonna have that smoky flavor from from that you get in New Haven, have kind of that taste to it. I was really excited for it, and it looks great on the pictures and even the video that you're probably seeing right now. It looks really good, and it misses the mark a bit. There was no coal flavoring to it. The crust wasn't the best. It didn't bubble at all or anything like that. It was kind of like a flat crust, and it was very floppy. Just not the best. The tomato sauce was a little bit sweet, tomatoey. Cheese was fine. They did have like these really big, thin cut pepperonis, like triple the size of a normal one. So that pizza was actually a little bit better. We got baked in basil on it too. It kind of hid the sauce flavor or made it less sweet. So it's good. But yeah, the crust was just a big miss for me. So it was decent, but not something I'd be looking out to go back to.
It sucks when a pizza looks pretty and then it doesn't deliver on that, but it does look pretty.
Instagram
I did
pizza.
look pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, like the cheese one, I got it because it looks so cool in the pictures that we got the cheese one. It's like a swirl of sauce and a swirl of cheese, and it just looks really well done. The inside, it's like kind of like a basement divey pizza bar. So that it was cool inside. The service was really prompt and nice and all of that stuff. So I can't complain about anything there. It just, and some people might still love it. It just didn't hit the spot for me. Above average, but nothing like great. And then on the flight home, it's a short flight. I think it's like, under an hour and a half in the air, but they started drink service slow or took a while to get it going. And we were towards the back of the plane. So they got to us, like 30 minutes before we were supposed to land and give us the drinks. And I order a Diet Coke or whatever. She gives me the whole can, which I didn't want because I knew we didn't have a ton of time. And literally 3 minutes later, they come around and start grabbing, trying to get garbage and stuff. And then a couple minutes after that, they're like, "Sir, you got to put up your tray table." I'm like, "Why the hell did you give me this drink right before? Like, what are we doing here?" So I put the tray table up. I'm holding this drink that I know I'm not going to finish. And, we hit some turbulence and it just spills all over my crotch. So it looks like I pissed my pants.
The Spirit experience right there.
No, this was Delta.
Oh yeah,
this was not.
Oh yeah, I was wondering how
Delta.
Spirit gave you the whole can of Diet Coke. I was okay. So yeah, that's right. Okay.
No, Delta on the way back, and I'm just like an ice chunks down there. I'm digging it out. Nobody to be found because they already sat down for landing, so I can't get a napkin or anything. I'm just like trying to brush it on the floor. Luckily, I was wearing like Eddie Bauer hiking quick dry pants. So I got it out, and I'm like, all right, hopefully it airs out by the time I got to stand up and grab my bag. But I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this cup now? So after we landed, I got back and walked to the back and I'm like, "Hey, can I is there somewhere I can put this?" She's like, "Oh yeah, just throw it in this trash." I'm like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" There's so many people that still had trash in their seats as I'm deplaning because you did all this stuff last minute and nobody had time to properly dispose of anything. It was like the worst run thing ever. Either don't do it or you got to do it way earlier than that.
Well, here's the question, because I've been sort of playing this game with Jasmine every time we do Vegas to LA flights. They used to serve full beverage services and then even snacks sometimes. And now the best you get is like water. But like probably the last 6 or 7 times I've flown that, they'll get on, "Oh, the captain is called for turbulence, so we're not going to be doing a service." And I swear to God, I haven't had a service on an LA to Vegas flight in a long time. So would you rather have that where they just lie about it or to do the quick service? I don't know.
The smoothest flight you've ever taken.
Oh, it's never, there's never turbulence either. It's just you're sitting there and they're all happy not to serve you.
I love that. Like on the Phoenix to Vegas flight, I was once on American in first class and they made the announcement, "Oh, we're only doing water service." And everybody, like I heard somebody in first class, like, that's bull crap. I paid for the seat. And he's like, "Don't worry, you guys are getting your drink." And they did like 2 rounds of beverages and stuff. And
yeah, they always
first
can be first class.
Nice.
I swear to these flights, they always serve first class. Don't worry about the turbulence in first class.
No, there's no turbulence. There's no turbulence in the first class cabin. The front of the front of the plane
turbulence.
Yeah, the front of the plane doesn't get turbulence. The back of the bus, the back moves more. So it's different.
It's got a fat ass.
And with that, I think we're going to close this one out. So let us know in the comments what you think about JetBlue's card, Mark's trip, everything we talked about. Joe, where can people find you when they're not listening or watching this fine podcast?
Well, first of all, just a reminder for those of you who are still listening on audio, this podcast is on YouTube now, and Mark's face is so red, laughing about it.
It really is.
It is like the reddest I've ever seen it, actually. We've been recording on video for years, but now you get to see how red his face is. This is the reddest I've seen.
That's right, because I have a back spasm and it hurts to laugh.
Oh, gosh. Sorry. I apologize for being so funny. I'm sorry. I'm just such a funny guy. But yeah, you can find me at AskJoeFlies all over social media. If you're looking to book a Disney trip or a cruise, you can hit me up, Joseph Cheung at travelmation.net with an M. What about you, Mark?
The number one Disney booker in the world, right? Or at least for
Thank
them.
you. Yes. Thank you.
Number one. You can find me on Twitter at Detroit Mark. Read my articles on travelonpoints.com. How about you, Shawn? We don't even do this when Joe's not here. How about you, Shawn?
I know. I was thinking that. I was like, we have to come up with a different way to do this. It doesn't make a lot of sense for YouTube, but we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, check out all of our YouTube stuff, Vegas stuff, 20-minute travel. We'll have the news on Wednesday, and we do 2 shows every week. You can listen, you can watch everything we do. And yeah, youtube.com and just search our names. I don't know. But thanks so much for watching, and talk to you next time.
She's got dumps like a truck.
See ya.
How the hell am I even going to edit this all together?